can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Amit here. He is the founder of Xtras and G-nie, which is G-nie.io. And Amit, before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast people should check out. Since this is part of the Israel Business Leader series, I had Yuri Adoni. He's the author of Unstoppable Startup. He spent 20 years in high tech, 12 years at Jerusalem Venture Partners. And he has the book, which is Mastering, the Unstoppable Startup, Mastering Israel's Secret Rules of Chutzpah. Okay, that was a really good one. I don't know if you've heard of that one, Amit, but it's a good book. Maurice Navon of Mobileye, he talks about Mobileye and their journey to being acquired by Intel for $15.3 billion. But what struck me about that journey is that, it has a lot of ups and downs. And he had to go back to his family at points in the journey to say, we can't do extracurriculars, we can't eat out anymore, we can't do the niceties because we're in the lean times right now at Mobileye. And so just the entrepreneur journey is a crazy one. So check those out and on InspiredInsider.com. And this episode is brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help businesses give to and connect to their Dream 100 relationships. And how do we do that? We actually do that by helping you run your podcast, or an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do the accountability, the strategy, and the full execution of it. And we call ourselves the magic elves that are running in the background to make it look easy for the host and the company to create great content and build great relationships. For me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. And I found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and companies I most admire and share with the world what they're working on. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, go to rise25.com. And I'm excited to introduce Amit Oestreicher, and he's the founder and CEO of G-nie and Xtras. There's two platforms that are transforming the on-demand workforce industry in Israel and beyond Israel. With over 10 years of experience as a founder, he's built and scaled both platforms from scratch. And G-nie, which we'll talk about, is a SaaS platform for flexible workforce management, and solves some of the labor's market's biggest pains for businesses of all sizes and industries. And Xtras is Israel's largest on-demand workforce platform. It has more than 20,000 active users, creating the future of work for workers and employers. And, he's used some of the innovative technology, and they provide that for businesses with on-site workers on demand in a matter of hours. And it could be for a day, it could be for weeks, it could be ongoing. And what's interesting about, your company, unlike some of the gig economy, is you actually take, full responsibility and employ these people, even though they can kind of work in various things. And I know from G-nie, there's recruiting, scheduling, managing, all that's on site. And so we'll talk about that. But you are an expert in on-demand staffing and gig economy. So thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk.
I know I mentioned Xtras and G-nie, but if you could just take a second and tell people about Xtras and what you do, what it does for companies.
Well, Xtras is the biggest workforce management platform. We help businesses solve the manpower crisis, even for a day, if they want a worker for a day, for a few-hour gig, or to build them a team for a longer term that can, fluctuate between seasonality and the number of workers depending on project size and things like that. And as you said, we take full responsibility over the whole process, from the recruitment stage into the interviews, the scheduling, and we manage them and employ them for the businesses that use our services.
Where did you get the idea for this? Because it's pretty remarkable to have, that many, you built this from scratch.
Yeah.
Where'd you get the idea?
I was working most of my life in the events industry. I was working in venue halls. I was an event producer. And in 2013, 10 years ago, I needed staff for my event. I was, searching everywhere. When I was young, my friends worked for me. I was calling my friends, hey, I need a waiter or two. They can't work. And they grew up, they had families, they had mortgage, and they don't wanted to work in that kind of businesses anymore. So I was missing like dozens of people for the weekend. And I knew that if I had a pool of workers, I would, send the word out and someone would say, yes, I want to take that job. But I didn't have that, kind of pool of people. And I asked myself, why don't I have a button that when I push it, all my workers will come? And then I decided to develop that button. And then Xtras was, created.
What kind of companies use Xtras?
So when we launched in 2015, we started with the events industry, which was very easy for me because I understood the need and the pain. And I had clients all over Israel friends that wanted to use the services. And then we expanded into the hotels industry. So we were mainly in hospitality. And during COVID, everything was shut down in like 2 days. And instead of like staring at the wall and saying, okay, the business is dead, I understood that there's a vacuum because this is the platform that's connecting between demand and supply, between businesses that need workers and workers that are looking for jobs. So then we expanded quickly into agriculture. We went into operational. We moved into factories, laboratories. We moved into, we did a lot of business development during that year. And then it became a platform that's working not only in gigs and in few-hour gigs, but in longer term of short-term project and jobs.
It's a stressful industry in general, right? People sometimes last minute staff cancel or whatever. I could see with COVID too, you're in the hospitality industry, right? That's probably why you have no hair. I mean, this sound,
the hair and the
but you pivoted,
thing.
right? And you had to pivot quickly. Talk about, you say it kind of casually now, but at the time, overnight, you lose your clients, right?
Yeah,
so what were you thinking and what did you do to keep your head on to actually move forward?
Well, it was one of the most stressful moments in my life. When everything was shut down, really, the phone didn't stop ringing to cancel everything. And at one point, I stopped answering the phone because I knew what's going to be on the other side. And I stared at the wall for practically 24 hours. Like, it was just before the Jewish Halloween, Purim. It was supposed to be like a big, gigs for in the platform, and there was a lot of jobs there, and we were supposed to launch new features and everything. It was supposed to be the starting of an amazing year, and in one day everything is canceling. So I really stared at the wall for 24 hours, and then I called all my staff and told them, okay, everything is shut down, but we have an opportunity here to start a new thing. Let's grab the phones and find everyone that's willing to hear us out and understand that we have a solution. And we just expanded everywhere, and in less than a week we started to work again.
So you were thinking, okay, this industry shut down, what's not shut down? So talk about the pivot and what companies actually you did start working with at that time.
I started to work with an agriculture company. It was the first quarantine. There were millions of unemployed people here in Israel. It was all shocked. It was the time that the whole world thought that the zombie attack is coming and everybody's going to die. So there was a huge shortage of people like everywhere. And a friend of mine connected me into the big agriculture company. We signed a contract. My lawyer didn't want me to sign that contract. I probably say
why?
Because it was a very, very long contract, but there was one line missing. how much money am I going to get from that work? And he said, Amit, you're not going to sign this contract because they're not going to pay you. And I told, okay, you know what? I need to start moving forward, and they want people in the field tomorrow, and I can bring them the people. It's an IPO'd company. It's a big company. They don't want to get sued. I'll find a way to solve it out. Let me start working again. He said, okay, it's your responsibility because I'm not letting you signing this contract. And I did, because, there was something that needed to be done. And people waited in line because it was the first quarantine. Nobody got out of their homes because everybody thought they're going to die. And people just begged for a permission to go out from their house, because they're locked down for weeks. I need to go out, give me a permission. Tell everybody that I have a work to do. They want to volunteer, really. They didn't want any money, just want to breathe fresh air, just like prisoners, seriously.
So the agriculture industry, and also you were mentioning labs, COVID labs.
Yeah,
what happened with that?
Yeah, well, one day we had a phone call of a VPHR of one of the biggest COVID labs here in Israel, who was introduced to me, and she asked me, it was Friday. No, it was Thursday. And she called me and said, okay, we are starting to build a lab and we'll need staff to run the labs. And can you build me a staff of 30 people for next week that can do instructions and all that kind of things? I said, yeah, for sure. I can do that. And that was Thursday. And then she called me Friday, the next day, and she asked me, you remember me? I'm the one from yesterday. Can you bring me people now? And I asked her, how now is now? And she said, now. And I told, okay, I can't bring you people now, but I can bring you people in 2 hours. I said, okay, so start bringing them in 2 hours. And I told, but what about the people for next week? He said, no, forget next week. Start now. And then we brought her people in like 2 hours, and then she called and said, okay, so you're bringing people for the evening shifts and for the night shift and for tomorrow as well, right? Said, okay, let's start rolling. And in like 24 hours, we built a staff of dozens of people. We were running like almost 100 people a day in shifts, scheduling through trainings and through all of that. And we did that like in a minute.
What made you decide you took a little bit different approach, right? Because you actually, I think you were mentioning, employ the people, even, so it's different from, like an Uber or something where they're not really employed by the company. They're just kind of a gig worker and work on demand. Why did you take that route?
Well, I have a little problem. I'm a people's person. I love people. I manage and employ people for almost 25 years. And, I read researchers, and I'm Generation X. And when you're talking about Generation Y and Z, they tell them people that they're lazy, that they don't want to work, and all those kind of things, when you talk about the younger generations. But, the researchers say that when you ask the younger generations what they think about the labor market, they say, we're great workers. We just don't want to work in your way. We want to work in our way, which is flexibility and the ability to choose the way of life. And it was an experiment to say, okay, let's give them the ability to work whenever they can and want, and let's see what happens, And I understood that it's really working, because when you give them full flexibility on one hand, and you give them the assurance that they have someone to talk to, and if they have any problem, someone is taking care of it, and they can work in several businesses, and they get one salary from one employer, which is us. It's give them peace and quiet. It lowers their retention. They don't want to leave because they understand the value of the platform and the advantages that we give them. They bring their friends, they bring their families, like it's a community of people. Although we don't see them face to face, we interview them by phone or by Zoom. We don't meet them on the ground. but they're relations. People meet, people engage. We have the first couple that got married, that met in Extras in a job. It happened just 2 months ago. It's amazing.
What's also interesting to me, Amit, is when you're in the industry you're in, you have to do a lot of hiring. And you also have to get feedback and make sure, okay, we're hiring a lot, but just like if you're an Uber, there's there's a lot of technology behind that in the rating system and everything. So I'd love to hear, first, we'll talk about your hiring process, how that looks like, and then how did you incorporate feedback? So people yeah, I love this person, they were amazing, or when dealing with people, there are people that don't show up also, right? So talk about the hiring process that we could all learn from. What do you do? Because you are hiring a higher volume probably than most companies.
Well, first of all, we have a very quick and easy onboarding process. You just have to fill out the few details and you're in. You see all the feed of jobs that you are able to work at. And if you're interested in one of the jobs, then the process really starts, and we send you to fill all the forms needed for you. And then we do the interview in which we decide if, first of all, you fit. And if you fit, to what kind of job do you fit, and what happens. Although there's a lot of technology inside, there's still people that decide, my staff decides who's going to go where. Because I believe that in the end, when you manage so many people and we employ thousands of people a year, there has to be a decision-making process made by people, because there are a lot of variables in the human factor. So it can be fully automated. There's a lot of automation, but in the end, it's a human decision. And then, of course, there's the feedback, because although we have a very, very easy onboarding stage, the real customer journey starts when the employee leaves his home, goes to work, and then ends his job and gets back to work. And it's an hours of user journey, which I don't really have any control over it, because you can be late for the bus, you can be, it's raining, somebody shouts at you or whatever. So it really disappoints you and ruins the process. So we vet both sides. As we vet the employees, we also vet the businesses. I won't get any business into the platform. He has to be really good for them. He has to treat them right. I fired businesses as well as I fired, employees who were not good for the platform. We also fired businesses as we understood that the feedback that we're getting are not good. If you're getting a bad feedback one time, second time, third time, you understand that the problem is not with the employee, the problem is with the business itself, and it's not good for you. So we have a two-sided rating system. The employees are rating the shift after the job is done, when they clock out. The business is rating the employees when they're getting the timesheets, and we can see who is blocking, who is favored. And so this is the best way to build the teams, making everything work right for them.
Are there any other things we should point out with the technology piece and the feedback? Because I'm sure there's other stuff that's going on behind the scenes that's valuable for you when that person leaves. What's happening with the company? What kind of things are they entering in, and how does it get processed on your end?
Well, we collect a lot of data over the employee. It's really extensive data. Nobody treats part-time and on-demand staff the way that we see it, because although it's part-time, there are people who are using us for almost 8 years. They come and go whenever they can and want. They started as seniors who finished high school, and now they use us through all their service in the IDF. When they go back home and they need some job, every now and then you just click a button and go to work. And then when they're students, we give them the flexibility not to get obligation to one job, who wants them to work like 5 days a week, because they need to have the flexibility to learn. And of course, after they finish, they graduate, and we help them to find the real job for their lives. So we collect a huge amount of data over the people to really know what they're capable of, where they're good, where they're not, which really helps the business of making the right decision.
How did you decide how to charge? And dual-sided marketplaces are difficult, right? You need these companies, you have these workers, and you need companies, and then that flexing up and down. How did you decide as far as charging goes?
First of all, the employees are not paying. Of course, it's free for them. We charge the businesses. We built a dashboard. We did a lot of experimenting, seeing things running. And then we understood, we built the KPIs for that. We understood how much it costs to recruit a worker, how much it costs them to go to work, how much do I need to charge a business in order to make it profitable to me, and how long. And we know we have so many dashboards and statistics to show that, well, if you send a new worker to a meet, it will probably leave after the first time. And if you send them to Jeremy, it will stay, because we understand that this business is good for allocating new workers, and this one is not. So it's really a lot of dashboards and understanding throughout the years of doing optimization about how do we need to charge.
I'm wondering, oftentimes, at least myself, I learn a lot from the mistakes I made. Do you remember early on a learning of that you had to shift with the pricing model because of something you learned?
Yeah, we had a contract with a big business who almost killed the company. We gave them a very, very attractive price in order to make everything happen, and the obligation from their side was to bring us job throughout all year long, and they didn't do their side. So it was really fluctuating and seasonal again and again, which affected the recruitment revenues, and it cost me much more than expected, and we lost a lot of money in that deal, a lot.
So what did you do differently? I can see, okay, we'll give you a good deal because you're going to, give us a little more stable work. And then the stable work doesn't happen and you're still paying out what you need to pay out. What did you do differently after that scenario?
Put everything in the contract and not relying on the promise itself.
Yeah.
Really.
When did G-nie come about? So Xtras, and then you started G-nie.
Yeah. I was walking throughout my customers, and we're doing demos, sometimes face to face, not only online. And I realized that I'm sitting with them and doing the onboarding for their side of the platform, and just looking over my shoulder and saying, okay, you're giving me a portal to make the orders and seeing the timesheets and the invoices and the staff and everything, but what is the admin that you're using here for yourself? I want that admin for myself as well, to manage my own co-workers, because you've built something amazing for yourself. And then we understood that we've built for ourselves something that many other businesses can use as well. So for last year, during the whole year, we changed the whole infrastructure of Xtras in order to make it a SaaS platform, in order to duplicate it to optimize it for every business that want to run its own workforce management platform. We understand that the work today is going more and more into gigs. They're not full-time jobs. And when a business wants to schedule people into gigs, it usually doesn't have the platform in order to manage it, because he's used to have people working for him like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And then people start to say, okay, I don't want to work full-time job for you. I want to work like part-time. And then instead of one person, he needs to have to hire two. But how does he manage that? And this is what G-nie does for the business. The same that we do for ourselves.
Yeah. So you built a solution that you needed to use to manage extras, and then people saw it and they said, I want that also. So what kind of companies are using G-nie? And by the way, if you're listening to the audio, there is a video component. We're showing the G-nie website here. It's g-nie.io. And obviously there's companies from all over the world that use this. What kind of companies are using it?
First of all, everybody that using scheduling platforms, it's not built for a tech company. It's full-time employees that's coming to work and to the office every day. It's for blue-collar industries. If you're a staffing company that's using blue-collar industries, it's really tailored for your needs. If you're from the events industry who's using gigs of every now and then need for people to come to work for you, it's tailored for your needs. If it's a retail industry company that want to optimize its workforce in several branches, to move people whenever they can and want to, in order to optimize the workforce, to make them work full-time jobs, not even in one place, it could work for them as well. These are the main industries and segments that we can bring value in.
And I think, we were talking before we hit record. I'm not sure if this was for G-nie or extras, but you were mentioning that you've seen a lot of companies that are wanting volunteers use your your offerings.
Yeah, that happens in G-nie these days because of the situation here in Israel. That there's a lot of volunteers within Israel that volunteer like everywhere, and it's everything that happened overnight. Adventures that came into air and just need mass manpower to go like everywhere. And then they start working in sheets and in WhatsApp groups and like everywhere, and it's hectic. And one day someone called me and said, you have a solution, right? I remember you from one day, and you said that you have a solution. Yes, of course. And then we did a quick onboarding, and hundreds of people just went in like 2 hours, and things started to roll out. And then it spread the word into other people, other places and companies, and this is what we're doing here in Israel right now. We're running volunteers throughout the country in many jobs that they're needed at.
Yeah, so a company before, it could be any company. This situation with the volunteers, they're doing it off of a spreadsheet. They're okay, like this person can come, they can work at this time and this day, and like here they can just easily go on and they can, we're looking at, they can manage a schedule. There's different people and they can actually plug people in and just manage it in one dashboard.
They tell people just everywhere where they need to be. They give them the contact person. They give them the full location. They ask them for an attendance. They have a clock in and out that shows that the people really arrived to the place that they were supposed to be at. It lowers their attention as well, because when you're looking for volunteers, you just say people, go and there's someone to pick oranges tomorrow at the field like 6 a.m. But the person needed like 20 people, and 100 people are showing up because they saw and they want to do something. But then you tell 80 people, I don't need you, go home. And what does that people do? They don't show up for another volunteer another time, even if they wanted to, because they're so disappointed. So we give everything, the peace and quiet. Just show everybody when they're scheduled, when they're not, give them the full instructions. We lower the noise of just sending mass messages from everywhere to everywhere. We, again, keep the data of the human factor in one place, because the person who runs everything is also volunteering, and if next week he'll go back to work, all the data related to what he did stays within his phone or with his Google Sheet, So this is not the thing that things need to be done. So we keep everything in one place.
When you have a company and you're running that company, Xtras, with technology behind the scenes, and now you have a front-facing piece that's a SaaS company now, what features did you have to build in to make sure this was ready for a front-facing piece? Like you could see here, I'm looking through this, and what's interesting is like there's a lot of things that are built into this, right? There's a shift scheduler, there's a time clock, there's RSVPs, there's a rating system. What were some of the key features that you got feedback from when you released this that helped you improve the platform?
Well, first of all, we really developed everything in-house for ourselves. A lot of people ask me throughout the years, why aren't you using third-party companies or features in order to implement it? Because it's an open source and you can do it by a minute and things like that. But I'm really protecting the data of my users, because usually when you're using third-party companies, you need to give their data to other companies and other people. And I never wanted to do that. So we developed everything in-house. We got a lot of feedback throughout the years from our clients and from our employees, like, I really would love a button that will do this for me. I would love a feature that will do that for me. So we really listen. We really listen. We do surveys a few times a year and ask both sides what they love and what they think that need to be improved. Because, I remember that one time I was thinking about a feature, and I was, handling with myself how to build it and what do I need to do. And then I woke up one time in the morning and said, I have thousands of employees. Why won't I ask them if they need it? And if they do, what do they want to do with it? Just, spread a survey within the app and ask them.
What was one of those things? Do you remember, or maybe a few that you got feedback from the
rating
staff?
System?
Yeah.
The rating system is great. The timesheets, the feedback that we're getting from the clients is that everything is organized. They say I've never seen anything like that in any other companies. People are saying to me, I used to send me the list of people in WhatsApp or in mail, or just log into the sheet. And here I just log into one portal and I can see everything from my order into the invoice. Everything is run in one place. Everything is very, very neat and nice. And we have videos and we do instructions, but we've learned to see that even the elderly people are getting along with it just fine, because it's so easy to use.
Yeah, I'm seeing some of these rating systems. I'm sure it's improved over the years, but you could see, again, I'm sure there's a reason for all of these things, but you could see you can add to your favorite employees, and it's not just about what kind of job they did, but there's an appearance, there's a general function, and a punctuality. And I'm sure what happened was this person was a great worker, they were punctual, and someone was like, I'm guessing, they just didn't show up looking professional or whatever.
So this is it's not only technology. There's a lot of technology inside, but I think that the thing that really defines us is the service that we give to both sides from the staff itself. We answer everything. We answer them quickly. We give them service 7 days a week from morning to night. So everything is answered in less than a minute. Really, every ticket is answered in less than a minute. And if you're asking, really, I was walking years ago into one of an event with one of my advisors, just to show him everything that goes around. And I told him, the client, tell him what's good in us. And I was expecting, as you said, to hear the technology, the staff, and everything like that. And you said the service. I said, seriously, the service? I said, yes, people come and go. There are people everywhere, but you give us I've never seen any service that really compares into what you give as a whole, you know. Because in the end, it's all about listening and understanding and giving the answers. Not all the time, the answers would be the right answer that the client expects, but it's still the answer. And by the way, both of them are clients. The workers are also clients, and I see them as much important clients than the one who actually pay. Because if they're not happy, if they won't be any employees that want to go and grab that job, this company wouldn't survive, even if the client would pay me $1 million for each worker. Somebody needs to say, yes, I want to do that job, and they need to be happy. They need to be satisfied. So they're much more important to me than the businesses that are paying for this company.
I mean, are there any surprises of companies that use the platform that you didn't expect? Like you're saying, the blue collar, I can see use cases for nonprofits. I can see restaurants, like people who have a lot of maybe shift workers. What are some use cases you found that maybe have surprised you of people using the software?
Tech companies. Or you really expect them just to hire full-time employees and things like that. And they came and run into project-based workers who do their jobs for a few weeks or a few months. I didn't see them first as potential clients, and it was very surprising to see that we can bring value to them as well.
We mentioned COVID, right? Your client base evaporates overnight because you're in the hospitality. Then October 7th hits, right? What happened? Where were you when that everything went down?
Well, October 7th was Saturday. I just came from the flight the day before. I was jet lagged. I fell asleep on my sofa. I woke up in 6:30 to sirens. And fortunately, here in Israel, we're used to sirens here and there. And I asked myself, really, is there a siren right now? Okay.
And sirens, for people who don't know, means?
Yeah, missiles. So sirens because of missiles firing from somewhere. So I just ran into the shelter. And then when it was all finished, I texted my family. I don't know what happened. There was just sirens here, but I'm too tired. I'm going back to sleep. And then I woke up a few hours later, and everything was like hundreds of messages, and everything was in chaos. And of course, everything was shut down again. And we started, 4 weeks have passed since, and we reinvented ourselves again during that time.
So, because businesses shut down, and it's reminiscent of, evaporating the business. What do you think, and what do you do? And we're still in the midst of that right now. What's going on? Yeah. So, how are you thinking about rebuilding, or, because people don't need staff when they're shutting down?
Well, so we lost all of our client base in one day. Again, it's starting to go back now, very, very slowly. But again, just like COVID, there's a huge shortage of people because hundreds of thousands of people are in the IDF right now serving as reserve soldiers. So there's a shortage of like 10% in the labor market of people right now. There are a lot of people who have been evacuated from their homes in the south and in the north, who's really located right now in the center of Israel, and they do need some kind of work. So we're trying again to be the bridge, that gaps between the demand and supply for those people. We're seeing a huge opportunity to take a bigger part in what's going on right now in Israel, to help people really go back into their feet and help them to make a living these days, and for the businesses again to survive. It's just going to be a lot different from what we did until today again.
How is this different? You say it so casually, the sirens go off, there's missiles, I go into my bomb shelter. I mean, that's shouldn't be normal, but you speak of it like it is normal. How is this different? Because you've obviously heard sirens before. How's it affected you, and how is it different this time?
It's not anything like everything that I ever experienced, and I don't wish everyone would experience something like that in his life. It's a life-changing event. It is. It's a small country, and what happened here affected and affects everyone. I don't think that there's a family here in Israel that doesn't know somebody or a friend or a family or whatever who was murdered or kidnapped during October 7th. It's nothing unlike anything that I have experienced. Really, it took us as an entrepreneur, as a company owner, that really have to go back on his feet, because a lot of people rely on me. It's like an automatic mechanism that forces me to go back on my feet and start running again. But seeing my staff, and my staff is 95% of them are women, seeing them, not being able to function, and see them on the mornings, just crying. It's really, I don't really find the words to even try to explain what's going on right now. It's
Heartbreaking. Yeah. How has EO helped you?
Well, first of all, EO, I'm just finishing my first year in EO, so the one of the biggest advantages that I found in EO is not being alone. As a sole entrepreneur who did everything by himself, and it's a very, very hard journey. Even if you have partners, and by all means, if you're alone, the forum and the chapter is an amazing place to be as a network, and someone to speak with, and to understand that you're not alone with your fears and with your doubts and with your decision-making process. And the network itself, I've met a lot of people throughout this year from the global network, and then I start to get messages and emails from people like saying, "Are you okay? Everything's fine. How can I help you?" You really, it's heartwarming, really, to see all the support that we got, that I got from people who hardly know me. It's amazing, really.
Yeah. And for people who don't know, EO is entrepreneurs organization, and it's a worldwide group, all over the place. I think there's over, I don't even know how many, 15,000 entrepreneurs across over 60 countries. So my last question, first of all, Amit, thank you. Thanks for sharing your story, your journey, and everyone should check out, if you're in Israel, xtras.co.il. And then if you're not,
check out G-nie.io, which is G-nie.io, and poke around there. And if it's, someone who that'd be a good fit for, let them know about it. Last question, Amit, is just on your entrepreneurial journey, we all have mentors. It could be colleagues, people that have helped us along the way, have given us advice, helped us. Who are some that you can have considered mentors, and maybe a piece of advice they've given you along the way?
Well, fortunately, I met a lot of amazing people throughout the way. Although I'm a sole entrepreneur, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have amazing advisors and people who helped me just because they wanted to help. Really, it did. But one of the biggest advice I could give is just treat any advice as an advice, because it's only an advice. I made a lot of mistakes because people gave me advices, and I said, wow, this is just, I just spoke with a billionaire and he gave me an advice. He has to be right, but his advice was for his journey, not for my journey. But every journey, we have one mountain to climb on, but there are many paths to go to climb into the on it. So each journey is very unique, and listen, but don't go and run to do everything that people tell you to do.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about EO is that people aren't giving advice, but they're actually just sharing their experience, and then we just take what is helpful for us from that experience, right?
Exactly.
But is there a mentor that sticks out, like when you lose all your clients overnight, and twice that you call to just for whatever reason? Who are the people you lean on in the business world that you call on just to whatever it's for?
My lawyer, because not because he's my lawyer, because seriously, because he's a very known businessman, and he built everything with his 10 fingers, and he built a few businesses, and he's an amazing person that I'm really proud that he's taking the time even to listen to my questions, and I'm really happy to be a lot of times the as you say, the stupidest man in the room. Just learn from people's experiences and the thoughts that they're willing to share with me and what they did in the past that maybe can help me. He's one of them.
Is there a firm name we should give a shout out to?
Efrati Galili.
How do you spell that?
How do you spell it? Efrati, E-F-R-A-T-I, Galili, G-A-L-I-L-I.
Cool. Well, I want to be the first one to thank you. Everyone check out more episodes of the podcast. Check out Xtras and G-nie.io, and we'll see everyone next time. Amit, thanks so much.
Thank you.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like $100 grand.